Hey there, I'm Jonny May from Piano with Jonny, and today I'm going to teach you how to play Somewhere Over the Rainbow using 6 different jazz harmonic approaches. Now, this is a really famous song, it's a great tune to use, and we're going to talk about, how to approach a song like this in a jazz style, but we're going to talk about 6 of the most common techniques we use in terms of jazz. And so these are 6 of my favorite techniques. Many jazz professionals use this, and so we're going to break down each one of these concepts. So first we're going to talk about block chords, okay? And block chords are this really cool classic jazz sound. And block chords sound like this. So then we're going to talk about drop 2 voicings. That's the second one. And drop 2s are a really cool sound because they're a lot like block chords, except we drop the second voice down. So we're going to talk about how to do that. So here's the sound of drop 2. Very kind of sweet sound. Then we're going to talk about 4th voicings. 4th voicings are a really cool technique when you're playing in a band, you want kind of a bigger sound. And so we usually play these up on the higher end of the keyboard, and they're very spread out, okay? So we're going to talk about how to harmonize using 4th voicings. So here's the sound of 4ths. I love that sound. It's super jazzy, super fun. Okay, so that's 3. Then we're going to talk about 4th, comping. Okay, comping is this great technique. We play single note melody in the right hand, and then we play these little chord clusters in our left hand. Very often used in swing music as well. So here's the sound of comping. Pretty cool sound. Okay, the last 2 techniques we're going to talk about are reharmonization. Sometimes we want to take the chords, we want to change them up a little bit, okay? And it's a more high-level technique in playing, but I'm going to show you 2 that I really like to use. One I call chromatic reharmonization, and that's basically where we take the bass note and we walk down half steps. It's a really cool sound, and I'm going to show you how to do it on this tune. Here's an example of chromatic reharmonization. See that bass note just moving down the whole time? And then finally, we rest there. So that's a cool technique. And then the last one is a complete reharmonization. This is basically where we take all of the chords and we use a lot of chord substitutions. So here is my complete reharmonization for Somewhere Over the Rainbow. And finally, we come to a resting place. This course also comes with a backing track, which is an upright bass and a drum, and these are real instruments, so you can actually play these styles in a trio setting, and it sounds pretty awesome. So here's an example of the backing track with the 4th sound. So 6 different styles, 6 different approaches, and the great thing is I break down each of these approaches so you really understand how to play these chords, play these styles using other chords. And the whole idea is, well, I not only want you to be able to play this tune, but I want you to be able to take other jazz arrangements, jazz tunes, and play them using each of these techniques. So that's a big goal for me in this lesson, and I think you're going to really enjoy it. Now in this preview course, I'm going to teach you a portion of the lesson, but if you want to find the full-length lesson, you could find it on pianowithjohnny.com. So let's go ahead and hop in. So let's dive in here. We're looking at the lead sheet. So if you have the music in front of you, go ahead and pull that out. This is a separate sheet, and this has your melody and chords. Okay, so we're going to do the A section. Let's just start with the melody here. So we've got that E flat with the thumb here. Okay, and we're just going to play that melody everyone knows. Okay, so here it is. 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Okay, good job. We're just sight reading this. 1, C, A flat, G, B flat. Great job. So that's your basic melody. If you don't read music, you can go over that a few times and kind of get that melody. It's a pretty simple melody, very singable, very memorable as well. Okay, by the way, we're in the key of E flat. So the key of E flat has 3 flats, B flat, E flat, and A flat. So we'd start on an E flat, which is here. So there's your first note, E, or E flat, F, G, A flat, B flat, C, D, and E flat. So you should know this scale to play this song because all of the chords are going to be derived from this scale, from these 7 notes. Okay. Also, my fingering is very important here. 2, 1. You always start on 2. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so like I said, these chords are coming from the E flat, key of E flat. So your second chord is a C minor 7. Well, all of these notes belong to the E flat major scale. Okay, same thing for G minor 7, which I showed you earlier, right? These notes are all part of the E flat scale. Not every chord will be part of the E flat scale, but most of them will be. Okay, so just keep that in mind. A little quick review here. We're going to talk about the 3 primary chords that we use in jazz: major 7, dominant 7, and minor 7. Okay, quick little review here. So I'm going to show these to you in the key of C, just so you can kind of see what's going on. So a major 7 is a major triad with a major 7, or the 7 is part of the scale. Okay, so you got to know your scale to figure these chords out. So C major scale is all white notes. So you got your major triad, and there's your 7th on the top. Okay, and these are built-in thirds, C major 7. Okay, the next chord is C dominant 7. One change here, got a lowered 7th. So it's a major triad, lowered 7th. The last one is C minor 7th. C minor 7th is one change as well. You lower the 3rd. So it's C, E flat, G, and B flat. And that's your C minor 7th. So these are going to be the 3 chords that you're going to see primarily through this arrangement and through most jazz pieces. If you open a real book or fake book, you'll see a few other chords, diminished chords, half diminished chords, but for the most part, 95% of your chords are going to be these 3 chords. And if you understand this concept, you can apply this to any chord. So these 3 major, dominant, and minor apply to E flat as well. You can do the same thing on E flat. There's your E flat major, dominant, and minor. All right? So quick little review here. Make sure you understand this concept, because as I get into this arrangement, I'm going to be throwing out terms, 7, 5, 3, or going through these chords, and it's important to know just kind of these base 7th chords. You've got to know that in order to understand some of the other concepts. Okay, another really important concept for this lesson, and just in terms of all of our lessons that we're going to do, is when we're playing jazz, you define notes as scale degrees. We call these degrees of chords. So I'm not necessarily going to give you the note name, but the degree of the scale. So in terms of our C major 7, which are these notes, I'll call the C the 1 because it's the root. The E is the 3rd up from C, so we'll call that the 3. G is the 5, and B is the 7th. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, but we build chords in thirds. So 1, 3, 5, and 7. This also applies to our dominant and our minor chords. So C dominant 7, our 7th is the B flat. Now, I won't refer to this as a lowered 7th because it's assumed for a C dominant 7 or C7, it's the same thing, that the 7th is lowered. Okay, so just know that if it's a C7, I'll call this a 7th, but you just know, well, it's a lowered 7th. Same with minor 7th, okay? The 3rd is an E flat, it's a lowered 3rd. But if it's a C minor 7 and I say, there's your 3rd, just know, okay, it's the lowered 3rd there. Okay, so that's kind of the basic concept. In addition to this, we can build 3 more notes on top of this major 7 chord using thirds, the third relationships. So we have 1, 3, 5, 7. If you go up another third, you've got 9. So D is your 9. Another third is F. So that's your 11. And then A is your 13. And that's as high as you go, because if you go up another third, there's your C, so you're kind of back to your starting position. Okay? So we call these 3 notes above the bass chord, we call these extensions. And it's really fun when you play jazz because you alter these extensions and you get these really cool sounds. Okay? But all you need to know right now is when I refer to 9, it's D. If I refer to 11, that's F, and then 13 is A. Another helpful way to remember these is to just know what these degrees are down here. Okay? So the D is like 2, right? F is like 4, A is like 6. Okay? 2, 4, 6, 9, 11, 13. So that kind of helps. And you know, in certain cases we'll use 13, in certain cases we'll use 6. In certain cases we'll use 11 or 4. 2 we don't use quite as often, but we will use 9. So just know that's kind of the language that we'll be using throughout this arrangement. Okay, so the next aspect of a lead sheet is the chords. You always have the chords written above. What we're going to do is do these in root position, like I said earlier, and then talk about how to voice these notes to where they sound really cool and jazzy. So the first chord is an E flat major 7. That's E flat, G, B flat, and D natural. And that's an E flat triad with your major 7 on the top. We build chords in thirds. Okay, so that major 7 comes a third above the 5th, and that's your root position. Okay, second chord is C minor. We got C, E flat, G, and B flat. So we got that C minor triad with the 7th above it. Next chord is G minor. We can put that here. G, B flat, D, and F. It's a G minor triad with a lowered 7th. Because remember, lowered 7th means if you go to the scale, the G major scale, you have an F sharp. So we're going to lower that to your F natural. Okay, we have an E flat dominant 7th on the last beat of measure 2. We've got E flat, G, B flat, and D flat. That's a dominant chord. A flat major 7. Let's go ahead and put that low because the melody is going to kind of get in the way here. So we're going to go way down here. A flat, C, E flat, and G natural. Okay, there's your major triad with that major 7th. Okay, D7, root position. D, F sharp, A, and C. Next chord is a G minor. Let's put that here. By the way, this red dot here, that's middle C. Okay, there's G, B flat, D, and F. Good job. We're going to go to E flat dominant 7, E flat, G, B flat, and D flat. A flat major is the next chord. We're going to come down here one more time. A flat, C, E flat, and G. D flat dominant 7 is here. D flat, F, A flat, B natural. E flat major, you know this one already. C7, it's going to be down here. C, E, G, and B flat, dominant chord. F7, we'll put it up here. F, A, C, and E flat. And then B flat 7, this is your 5 chord of E flat. This is getting you back to that E flat major, or E flat major chord. This is B flat, D, F, and A flat. And then of course your E flat major 7. Okay, so now that you understand this concept of bass 7th chords, you got the melody, we've got the chords, let's put them together. Okay, so this is the A section, Somewhere Over the Rainbow. There's your E flat starting note, and you have your E flat major 7. Now these, once again, these are root positions, so they're very simple. We will not perform it this way. This is just to have a basic understanding of the lead sheet. So let's do this. So E flat major 7, there they are together. Next one is C minor 7. Very good. G minor 7. E flat 7. Good. A flat major 7. Nice. D7 and G minor 7. Okay, E7 or E dominant 7, it means the same thing. E flat dominant 7. A flat major 7. D flat dominant 7. E flat major 7. C7. Here's our F dominant 7 or F7. Move that thumb out of the way so you can play the melody. And then B flat 7. And then you have your E flat major at the end. All right, so those are your basic chords. We're going to have a lot of fun with this. So let's go ahead and hop now into the first concept here, which is going to be blocked chords. All right, so before you move into this block chord style, make sure you have the melody down, you have the chords down. Really important because we're building off of those. And if you don't understand the chords in root position, it's going to get a little bit complicated because we're rearranging a lot of these notes to create these various sounds. So we're going to hop here into the block chord sound. I love the sound of block chords. It's a very lush, beautiful sound. It's kind of a dated sound. It has kind of a 1940s, 1950s sound. So very appropriate for that era. Kind of reminds me of like I Love Lucy or something. So kind of has that big band flair to it. So here's the sound of block chords for Somewhere Over the Rainbow. So really nice sound. As you can tell, it has that like big band, almost like a saxophone section would be playing this, or a string section. This also sounds really nice up the octave. So pretty cool stuff here. So basically the block chord sound is taking the melody, turning it into an octave, and then putting the chord in the middle. Okay? That's the most basic description of it. So what we're doing here is I'm going to explain the degrees of each of these chords and how these chords work in this block chord style. And we're going to be using, different chords in this section, okay? So we're in the key of E flat, but for example, the third chord is a G minor 7, okay? And so when we play that G minor 7 chord, for example, if I'm telling you to play the B flat, I'm going to call it the third of B flat. I'm not going to call it the fifth of E flat, because when we talk about degrees, we talk about them in the context of the chord, not the key that we're in. Okay, makes sense? So just know that when I say third, I'm talking about the third of that chord. All right, so let's dive in here. We're going to start with the first chord, E flat 6, and we got a really nice, lush sounding E flat 6 chord. That's going to be the first note of the melody. E flat's on the outside. We fill it in G, B flat, and C. That's 3, 5, and 6. Okay. This relates back to our block chords. If you're in the key of C, it's the same as that, but it's E flat, okay? That's the first one. C minor 7. Okay, it's actually the same chord, okay? And if a bass player was playing the roots, it would change the sonority or the sound of the chord, okay? So, but for the sake of block chords, these are closed position chords, so we don't really hear the root on the bottom, but the root would be changing, okay? So E flat 6, there's our C minor 7, we've got the third on the outside, G is 5, B flat is 7, this is the lowered 7th because it's minor, and then the root here with the third finger, okay? Next one, there's our G minor 7, okay? We've got D's on the outside, which is the melody, F, G, and B flat, 7, 1, and 3, got the minor third. Okay, we got the B flats on the outside melody, harmonizing with the G minor 7, D, F, and G. Okay, this is a nice one here because we get the 11 on the outside. We're still using G minor, okay, and we're going to put the 9 in the middle. Okay, so we've got 11s on the outside, 5, 7, and 9, okay? We're back up to our G minor 7. This is the same as we had earlier. E flat 7. This is really nice. This is a straight E flat 7. E flats on the outside, 3, 5, and lowered 7. A flat 6. We've got the 5th on the outside, 6, 1, and 3. Okay, so this is where you kind of want to know key of A flat. You know this is the root, 3rd, and 5th. Okay, and then here's your 6. Kind of has that clustery sound. Okay, the next chord, we're going to do a little roll into it. Kind of a classy, old school sound here. I love that sound. But this is an A diminished chord. We haven't talked about diminished chords, but diminished chords are essentially all minor intervals. So the melody is a C. We form a minor third up from C, a minor third up from E flat, and a minor third up from F sharp, and we get our A diminished 7. Okay. Now this is an inversion. We've got the C's on the outside, but basically there's your A diminished 7. So we just invert that up, we double the melody, and there it is. Last thing we're going to do is slide up to the C. I love this sound. So we're starting on the 4 on A sharp, B, C. We're using all of these fingers. Just kind of practice that technique. You want it to be smooth and quick. Okay, kind of a cool sound there. We're going to keep going. E flat 6. We've got B flats on the outside. That's the 5th. 6, 1, and 3. Now what we're going to do here is put a little filler line. Okay, so far we have. And then this would just hold, but we're going to do a little block chord filler line. I love this line. Check it out. Very classy. You can almost hear the big band playing this or the strings playing this line. So it's really pretty. We're using the stock chords from the lead sheet. Okay, so we're gonna add this little melody. So the melody essentially is that's D, E flat, F, G, E flat, D flat, and then you're going to land on your C, which is the melody for the next section. So we're going to harmonize this melody. Starting with E flat major 7. Okay, this is beat 2. Beat 1 is here. So here's beat 2. And that's going to be our 7s on the bottom of E flat. This is major 7, D natural, 9, 3, and 5. You see that? Okay, so that's going to be our first block chord. Now, the E flat, we're just going to play the melody by itself. And the reason we do this is block chords are tricky because every note of the melody has a different position. Okay? It can be hard to play block chords when the melody is moving quickly. Okay, so this is an example of, okay, we're not going to play a block chord on every single note because it's moving kind of quickly and it gets really hard to play it accurately at that speed. Okay, so we're going to hit that D melody block chord, E flats by itself. Okay, there's our B flat minor 7. This is from the lead sheet. F's the melody, 7's here, 1, and minor 3rd. Okay, so that's our B flat minor 7. Okay, make sure you have that in your fingers. G is going to be by itself. Getting to the end of this measure 7 here of block chords. Okay, this is a little different chord I like here. This one actually lacks the 7. This is an E flat augmented chord, which is essentially an E flat major chord, which is like this, with a raised 5th. Okay, that's that B natural. Okay, so E flats on the outside, 3 sharp 5 or augmented 5th. It's the same thing. D flats by itself, and then we land here in this beautiful A flat 6 chord, kind of on the lower side of the piano. Okay, so here's this line. We'll do it slowly, starting on beat 1. 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1. Okay, let's keep going. A flat minor 6 is the chord. Love this chord, beautiful chord. A flat is the melody. Harmonizing it with an A flat minor triad, 3 and 5. There's 6. And then this gorgeous movement here. This is an A flat minor chord still. You've got the 9s on the outside, 3 3 and 5 in the middle. Remember, that's a lowered fifth because it's minor. And that G natural, which is actually the major 7. This is a chord that we don't use. We use more rarely. This is actually not part of the block chord minor positions, but this is an exception that you can use when you're harmonizing the 2nd degree of a minor scale, okay? A flat minor, you can use that major 7 here. Sounds really beautiful. So it's a substitution, and here's an instance where it sounds really nice. Okay, you're gonna come back down to your A flat minor 6. Let's keep going here. E flat 6 here. You got the 3rd, 5th, 6th, and root. Invert this down, basically same notes. E flats on the outside, 3, 5, and 6. This is going to be our 2 of E flat, 3, 5, and your major 7. Okay, G minor 7, this is your straight minor chord. This is the root position of G minor 7. So you've got the G's on the outside, 3, 5, and 7. Okay, this is really nice. This is our C7 with the flat 13. Okay, this is an alteration. We alter the extensions we talked about earlier. On a C7, the 13 is an A, but we're going to lower that to an A flat, okay? So this sounds really nice. So C7 with a flat 13. Another nice thing in this chord is we got the flat 9 here, this D flat, okay? So a very jazzy sounding chord. So flat 13's on the outside, 7, flat 9, and the 3rd here. Okay? 2 measures from the end. You're doing a great job with the block chords. Okay? F7, this is root position. F's on the outside, 3, 5, and 7. This one has the D's on the outside, 1, 3, 5. Next one is the F7, we got the 7's on the outside, 9, 3, and 5 in the middle. Now here we're going to go minor. Okay, this is a nice little transition from dominant to minor. Sounds really good. So we've got the minor 3rd now, the A flat here. So roots on the outside, 3, 5, and 7. And notice I just said 3, but it's a minor chord, so we lower that 3rd. And this gorgeous B flat 7. I love, love, love block chords playing this particular voicing of a dominant chord. This voicing is sweet because we've got the 13 and the flat 9, and this is a gorgeous combination. So we've got the 13 on the outside, 7, flat 9, and 3, and it's just class right there. It's just, 1940s black and white film, and this is your 5 chord, which leads you back to the 1, the E flat 6, E flats on the outside, 3, 5, and 6. So this is the block chord sound. Let's go ahead and do this whole section. We'll go really slowly and kind of watch. Also pay attention to fingering, really important that you try to go for the most ideal fingering. It changes every time I play it, but you don't want to use the same fingers. You want to be crossing over and crossing under, okay? Here we go. This is the beginning of block chords starting on E flat, and we're going to do the whole thing slowly. Here it is. 3, 4, E flat, C minor, here's our G minor. Walk it up, E flat 7, A flat 6. Here's our slide. We'll roll up there, filler line, land on the A6, 3, 4, 2, and 3, F7, minor. Yeah, that's sounding really nice. And go ahead and roll that B flat 7, just so you can make those notes really ring out. Another thing here that's really cool is if you notice on this B flat 13 with a flat 9, we've got a G triad up there. This is a G major chord, okay? And we call these upper chord triads, or another term I've heard is polychords, okay? But essentially on dominant chords, there's certain major chords that you can put on the top, and it has just a really beautiful sound. So more on that later or on a different lesson, but just know that's kind of what's going on here. Hey, hope you enjoyed this preview course. Once again, you can find the full-length course on pianowithjohnny.com. I really dive into all 6 of these approaches and really show you how to be an awesome jazz pianist. So I hope you check that out, as well as all of my other courses for beginner, intermediate, advanced players, and all of my sheet music as well. And until then, I'll see you in the next lesson. Take care.